Welcome to this Peatland ACTION mini-series on how to use a spatial data template. In this episode I'm going to show you how to set up a new template for your project. In the previous video we covered downloading the template data pack from the Peatland ACTION website and unzipping the file. I'll be using QGIS for these video tutorials, so we can see in this data pack there's a QGIS project file and a Geopackage. The project file has been configured to automatically read the data within the Geopackage based on relative path names, as explained in this guidance PDF. Therefore, it's important that both these files are retained within the same folder. To open the project, start QGIS, select the folder icon, and navigate to the project file in your template folder within the Explorer window that pops up. So select your QGIS project and click Open. Once your project is opened, it should look similar to this. You might have an orange warning in the QGIS message bar along the top of your map, and you can either click Details for more information or click the X to close. If I quickly check the details, I'll see that it's discussing the coordinate reference system. So I'll just shut this down and I will dismiss the error. Coordinate reference system should be set to British National Grid for all projects in Scotland, and we can check that this is the case by going to the bottom right hand corner and clicking on the EPSG 27700, and we can see that that's the authority ID for the British National Grid, so the project coordinate reference system is set correctly and the units will be in meters. Over to the left hand side of the QGIS browser we have a panel called Layers. This contains all of the tables within the spatial data template, and these have been grouped into 4 groups: your spatial tables, auto-complete measurement tables, lookup tables and basemaps. I'll just minimise the bottom 3 for now so that we can discuss the spatial tables first. And it's worth noting that if you hover over any of these layers, a small pop-up should appear with the file path name, and this file path name should match wherever you've saved your template pack to. So the layers in your spatial tables group are the ones where you will add in your restoration data. These are the only ones that should be updated with data in the whole of the data template, but no changes should be made to the table structure, so that means no additional columns, no changes to existing columns and no deletion of existing columns either. And you can see that there's a couple of different geometries in these spatial tables. So we've got point geometries and the restoration points in the notes layer, and then linear features for the restoration lines, and the remaining layers are all polygon geometries. The 0 in the brackets to the side of the layer name is the feature count. So this will increase as you develop your mapping. And note that there's no requirement to remove layers with 0 feature counts before submitting. Layers listed nearer the top of the legend are drawn over layers listed lower down, and therefore it's recommended that the order of the layers isn't altered as they've been organised to enhance visibility. If you wish to turn a layer off, just untick the box to the left of the layer name, and you'll note that this is only an option for layers that have geometries. You can also see the coordinate reference system of an individual layer by right-clicking and going down to Layer CRS, and you'll see that all of these will be set to the British National Grid as well. The project is set to the British National Grid by default. Beneath the spatial tables group, which is the one that, as I've said, you'll be working in, you have the measurement tables autocomplete, and these do mostly what they say on the tin. So the first 7 tables here automatically sum up the total lengths, areas and counts of the features in the layers in the spatial tables group above. These tables have been set up so that you can easily copy across the totals from your spatial data project to the application form and final report tables. And in this way we hope that the application form and the final report will match the spatial data. We've also added 3 self-QA tables which should help to flag up any areas that need further investigation before you submit the data. Scrolling down, your next group is your lookup tables, And the tables in this group do not have any associated geometry, so there are no features in the geoplan corresponding to any of the values in these tables. Their function is to provide restricted values to some of the columns in the layers contained in the spatial tables group. These should not be modified, however you can open the attribute tables by right-clicking and going to Open Attribute Table, and this will pop up something like this. So in this example we have the lookup for the forest to bog restoration techniques. So this is a restricted value in the forest to bog layer in the spatial tables group. This is useful if you just want to see which techniques are available before adding a feature, but in particular it's useful to ensure that you're using the correct value when you're carrying out bulk updates to any of these spatial table layers. And you can click on the restoration technique that you want in the attribute table and then copy cell content. And this means that any small mistakes such as putting a capital B or an extra space, which would potentially fail our second round of QA, will be avoided. And finally there is the Basemaps group. So this just contains an OSM map as standard, but we recommend adding in some aerial imagery here. And the general recommendation is that at least 2 different sources of aerial imagery are used for the mapping, as the sun angle can massively impact the visibility of restoration features. Please see the short useful resources video within this mini-series for further details about adding OS maps, elevation data and reserve boundaries to the template. And there are other videos in this series which demonstrate adding data to the template, how to identify mandatory fields, how to generate restoration footprints and self-QA. And all of these can be found on the NatureScott Peatland ACTION webpage.